Hello, all. So, my name is David Lloyd, and this wonderful group of people today are going to have a great conversation. So, Celeste, please introduce yourself, friend.
My name is Celeste, also sometimes Kim. Um, I was inspired to start this podcast with others because I'm passionate about helping people to see a different perspective and how it can very much cause you to question things and bring a whole new light into a situation. Um, and yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah,
I'm
I didn't
Bob.
really say my background, but I know Bob and I have talked a lot already, so he kind of already knows where I'm coming from. So, I didn't have to introduce my we're already friends. So, anyway, Bob, go ahead.
I'm Bob O Kelley. I'm a long way from everybody else. I'm in Carrollton, Georgia, and we met at a Zoom call, really, on Way of Mastery. And I've done everything from work for Dun and Bradstreet to drive a truck in Iraq and everything in between. And when we met, we were just all on the same page. So we decided to do this, and I'm looking forward to it.
Um, Now we're on the same page again. I love it. Yeah, still in the same book, writing the same story. Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just kind of get into your background a little bit. Tell us what made you. Like, we know who you are now. Tell us what made who you are,
Oh,
what you went through.
okay. I suppose I was susceptible. I hate to call it New Age, but I don't know what else to call it. A different way of thinking because my mother was a Christian Scientist, so I was raised to believe that you could be healed. I don't want to call it faith healing because that's not what it is.
Hmm.
Through spiritual means. So that was always part of me. And I tried to be a regular Christian, and it just didn't work. I just, one day I went, you really don't believe in these Bible stories. You're just kidding yourself. And, but I did believe that there was something to it, that there was more there than what people were getting out of it. Um,
Yeah.
and when I was driving the truck, I did listen to the Bible over and over and over and over, and I came to the conclusion, people say, well, it's not true because it contradicts itself. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. You could build a religion of hate just out of quotes from the Bible if you really wanted to.
Hmm.
And when I was active in church, I remember more than one sermon talking about cafeteria Christians who pick and choose what they want out of the Bible, right? Right. Well, they all do
Right.
that. Everybody does that because, you can't be a God of love and a God of vengeance at the same time. And I uh, just felt like everybody was missing the point. And then,
Hmm.
I didn't stay like doing that. I call that kind of my Christian period. And I realized that I was just kidding myself, that I really didn't believe it. And to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of the people that go to church actually believe it. They don't really believe
Yeah.
in Adam and Eve, and
Right. They believe in friends, right?
yeah. And
They believe in the social aspect.
but I never did think that there was nothing to it. I just thought that they just didn't get it. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, and I was searching, but not always. And um, kind of, I don't know. Carrollton here is, I don't know. It's a very spiritual place, I guess you could say. It's full of
Hmm.
awake people, and even
Yeah,
though it's in a little town in Georgia, it's just very different. And
that's very true, Bob.
yeah, and
Yeah, I know a lot of people there that I really respect highly for that reason.
yeah, and oddly enough, I'm from Atlanta, and oddly enough, I went to college in this town, but a whole set of circumstances that I won't go into, but I ended up retiring here, and man, I'm certainly glad I did. I enjoy this place. It is a good town and full of different thinking people, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
And so I fit right in.
that's
So
awesome.
I'm curious, was there some point that, like, what was there something at which point you went, like something challenging that caused you to be willing to question those things
But
that you had
I,
been taught?
what
I
flipped
have,
your switch, kind of? What
you
was it that
know,
flipped your switch? Or was there just that so many switches they're hard to know?
well, like a lot of Christians go, they have this great revelation, and you know,
Mhm.
I've been this way all my life. I've just, there was no great one thing that made me change. I was this way really as a kid,
I feel that.
yeah, and just,
So you lived inside of the other side. You lived inside the circle, but you were a triangle.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was totally that person. Feel
yeah,
that very much. Yeah.
yeah, and I just naturally questioned things and just never accepted things at face value. I pretended to, but deep down inside, I knew that I wasn't buying it. And one day I just went, "You're kidding yourself," and
Hmm.
and it's not like I immediately started seeking gurus or anything. I just living my life and
Yeah.
ended up here. And
Experience is wisdom, I think. So the more we do, the more we learn.
yeah,
As
yeah,
people who go through a lot end up knowing some shit. Sometimes they don't spell it, they don't spill it out. But there's no way you don't learn shit by going through shit.
yeah,
There's always to it. If you go through that, you learn that.
yeah.
You know,
Right,
we all have a hell of a story to share. I think we ought to start sharing more, just like this.
right. And
Uh,
they talk about that there's an awakening, and I really believe there is. And people are starting to see the truth. And we met at the Way of Mastery Zoom meeting, and when I was introduced to that book, I was getting ready to study A Course in Miracles, and I was in the local coffee shop, and boy, Steve Farish was there, Steve, and I went up to Steve and I said, I'm going to start the Course in Miracles, and Steve said, "Oh, this is better," and he introduced me to the Way of Mastery books, and I, I would go to the health spa and put it up on my Kindle and run and read, and I couldn't get it read because every paragraph I had to stop and think about it and go, yeah, this is the truth. And a lot of people would say would not agree with this. They would because it is a channeling from Jesus. And accept that or not, but it
yeah,
it rings the truth. I mean, everything I just went, this is true, this is true,
yeah,
this is true, and I recommend those books highly.
yeah,
And it's just become my philosophy, and um, it it just rings true. And it seems to me when I hear, okay, there's some other things that I just really don't care about. I think I don't, but they're not false. They are true, telling the truth. Like one of them's called the what is it? Some of one the oh, I can't remember. But anyway, it's supposed to be downloaded from a space alien, right?
oh,
Okay,
okay.
I
Oh,
don't accept that the way the
yeah,
some of one. I don't accept that, but I never heard it say anything that I didn't deem as true. I just don't want to get
right.
it that way. And
Yeah, you want you to hear your truth from a different mouth.
yeah, so
Yeah, no, I feel that very much. Because I had the same thing. Like some of those for a while, I'm like, man, I don't know how I vibe with that. But
yeah,
but then but when I hear them speak, sometimes I know they're true because they resonate. I already
yeah,
knew they were
right. It
true.
just
Yeah,
resonates when you did. It's
yeah,
called the law of one, and
right. It's that
and-
remembering thing all of a sudden happens. You just
yeah,
go, oh, I already knew that, but
yeah,
I forgot.
yeah. yeah. I don't know. Maybe perhaps if you're willing to shut up and listen, you kind of know the truth when you hear it. If you
Yeah.
can just get your own bigotry out of the way and just let it ride. And um,
What does
I,
that feel like for you, Bob, when you have a moment of like this is true? Like what do you notice in your body?
I, it, it, well, kind of a calmness, and it's just like it's home. This is
Feels like
this
home.
is yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. This is it, um, and it seems that it's coming from a whole bunch of different directions. I mean, I just mentioned the law of one, which I don't care for, but it's just some people do, but it's still telling the truth. Um, uh, and of course, in miracles, I don't particularly care for that either, but it's still telling the truth. Uh,
Right. Can't
and
argue with that, right?
yeah, I mean, it's
Like,
just, Jesus really didn't come to be worshiped. He came for you to be like him and teach
right. Right.
and and
Yeah. He said, be me, not follow me.
yeah,
Get
be me,
confused
not
with that.
follow me,
Yeah.
and
Be me.
yeah,
Don't follow me. Be
and
me.
that's might be a little easier said than done, but it's you can do better with it than you think, I believe, and
I do
and
too.
there's power in it. You begin to control things, and that it's not just up for grabs like your health or your relationships. All of that, if you are thinking right, it improves it. Maybe maybe you're not good enough at it yet to completely heal or whatever, but if you keep trying, you'll get there. And I just see it that way. It's just perhaps a different way of thinking from,
Well,
except here in Carrollton, everybody thinks
I
that.
love that you see it that way. It makes me happy as hell to talk to you.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about some of the books you have up on Amazon too, books you've authored. I'm pretty fascinated by a lot of them already. I'd love to have you talk to
The
them,
books
talk
I've
about them.
authored.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, like I said, I drove a truck in Iraq for the military, and we had a lot of downtime. And I worked with soldiers, young soldiers, and I'm a Vietnam vet. I got drafted as soon as I got out of college, um, and so working with these young soldiers, I realized that a lot of them really didn't know very much about what had happened to my generation. So I wrote a book called The Original Baby Boomer, and the title comes from the fact that my father was on a ship. If you recall your history, the war ended in Europe before it did in the Pacific. And so they put all the GIs on a ship and they were going to send them to the Pacific. And to do that, they had to go through the Panama Canal, which made them swing fairly close to Boston. When the war ended, the ship put in at Boston Harbor. They didn't know what to do with all these shipload of GIs, so they just let them out of the army. So, like the day after the war ended, my father was home, and 9 months later, I was born. So I consider myself, I mean, I'm sure there were others, but, I was conceived after the war and born like 9 months and 4 days after the end of the war or something. And
Hmm.
so that's the title of the book. And,
That's awesome.
and
You were a celebration, frankly,
yeah,
as a
yeah,
celebration baby. They're like,
yeah,
you,
yeah.
it's over.
And but so I wrote this book with the idea of teaching them about what happened to us. But as it turns out, the people that enjoy it are people my age that lived it. And it takes place here at the college and getting drafted and everybody having to deal with the draft one way or the other. And
Mhm.
uh, and then it goes to Vietnam with me. And everything, well, really everything in the book is true except for one thing. There's a character called Mary Ann, and she's a figment of my imagination. She did not exist, right? And I did not have a steady girlfriend all through college, but uh, uh, but the Vietnam stuff is dead on the money, is as accurate as I could make it, including my encounter with Al Gore, which is in the book,
Mhm.
uh, and
Tell us the
that's
name of the book again.
is the original baby boomer.
Okay.
And then when I moved to Carrollton, this town is a cultural arts center, and it is a great boon to this town. And they have artists and writers, and I got involved in the writer group, and I cranked out, I think 6 novels, and um, some under other names, and they're all right, and some of them are. Uh, I wrote one about remote viewing, and uh, uh, I'm a believer that Edward de Vere wrote Shakespeare, and I had, because I'd already written about the West Georgia here. My daughter went to Emory, and so I set this one at Emory, and these kids, students, history students, go on a quest to prove that using remote viewing to prove that Edward de Vere wrote Shakespeare, and they're able to locate a document that proves it. And I won't tell how it ends, but I mean, a book like that, you kind of have to know what remote viewing is, and it's a very
But I'm telling you, you're in the right place. The funny thing is, when I lived there, when I was working at the college, I found out, who Ingo Swann is?
yeah,
So Ingo Swann has all of this research, for those who don't know, about remote viewing. He's one of the original people, and he
yeah,
has
yeah,
boxes
yeah,
and boxes and boxes
yeah.
of papers, and they so happen to be in the basement of the University of West Georgia.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not.
No, I
They
know you're not.
they're in their special collections. So you got to go check them out. Go down and sit in a room, and you can look through them. I went over it for hours with my camera, and I take pictures of all these documents
Yeah,
for hours because it fascinated me. Like this
yeah.
whole topic is mind blowing, and there's no coincidence that that's where this whole thing was. Like there's something about the area.
Well, they
So
had
his granddaughter went to school there. I think that's why he donated him to the college.
oh, is that right?
There's some relationship. I'm not sure that's
Well,
exactly right. Relationship, but
there
there's
was
something there.
they had um, people that knew him and all speaking there at the college in the library, and I went over there, and I think it was his niece was there, and
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, Ingalls is for those that don't know, and probably many don't, the remote viewing was done by the government to spy on the Russians, essentially, and
Yeah,
Ingo Swann designed the program. Ingo was a kind of a psychic, but the rest of them were scientists, and they established a protocol to be able to look at other places without being there, and they would draw
yeah.
pictures of Russian bases and stuff like that, and it worked. And
That's the guy
Yeah.
who wrote the he made some kind of product that he sold, some what did he call it? Something tapes.
so,
The
Telepathy test?
I forget what it was called. No, that's something else. Anyway, CIA, right? You're talking about the CIA.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and this guy
Looks
had
like the men who
there
stare at
was some
goats.
kind of tape. I'm not recalling the name of it. I'll look it up, but there's some kind of tape that he made so that people who wanted to learn how to do that could purchase this tape. And
oh, you
Oh,
talking about Monroe?
yeah,
The,
Monroe
maybe,
Institute. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
yeah, that's it.
yeah, the Monroe
It
Institute. I have a
it's
friend that,
what does he call that? He has a name for what he does, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
yeah,
the CIA released documents on it that had
Hmm.
been sealed, and in the last, I don't know, handful of years, they
yeah,
released those out for public um to see uh this information about remote viewing.
yeah.
Very much took a scientific approach, but it was obvious that there was a lot of spiritual aspects to what they were doing. They just
Right.
changed it into sciencey words to make it look more governmental.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I had a wild thought about remote viewing when I was looking into it recently, and I had a conversation with my AI, which is what I do a lot. And so I started talking about the idea. Normally, people think of remote viewing as remote to self, but it's also an internal thing. You can use remote viewing to heal yourself. You
I
can
never thought,
view your own childhood and truly have a conversation with a 10-year-old you that was pissed off at something
huh.
because I know you can. Because if it works this way, it works this way.
You're talking about quantum jumping.
I
Yeah.
have no idea. I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm talking about, but
There's a
something just
lady
came to me and I had the conversation. I wrote an article about it. I'll share.
I started listening to, and I haven't finished the podcast. I kind of forgot, but um it was on Diary of a CEO podcast, and the lady that was being interviewed was neuro I keep forgetting what she called herself, neuroscientist and psychiatrist. And the short version of, the pertinent part of this story is she lost her husband, and as a result, uh, was felt like she was literally losing her mind, um, and sought out a medium and didn't care for the response that she got. But then she told herself, as a person who studied the brain, if these things are true, if this is actually a thing, then I should be able to do it too. I should be able to train my brain to do this. And so she started into this deep dive rabbit hole on how to go about that. And what she ended up discovering, among many other things, is that we think we really only have, most of us think we only really have five senses. Some of us might go as far to say six senses. And when she first said, well, how many senses do you think you have, to the interviewer, he said, yeah, five. And I was thinking, oh, she's going to say there's a sixth sense. That's interesting. I already know that. And the number that she gave, and don't quote me on
Much
this,
higher.
I don't know if I remember the exact number, but it was like 49 or something. It was a big number. And I was like, wait a minute. And she didn't get into all, like, rattling off a list of them, but obviously the common five we all know, and then six being intuition. And then she started naming things like your body senses its pH level, and your body sense your respiration rate, and just all these different things that we take for granted that our body is constantly sensing. And
Yeah.
Right?
she said, most of these things are not things we can control. And my disagreement at that point would be, yet. Most of us have not learned how to control those things yet. But there's yogis and people who have done lots of meditation, that Buddhist monks or whoever, who can control their heartbeats
Right.
and
It's
control their
exactly this.
pulse,
It,
they can,
it,
or
it,
people that can be underwater and not breathe for 40, 50 minutes at a time because they've learned how to
Or
control all of that stuff.
live in the cold and not freeze.
Right.
I think it's basically exactly how sensitive you are in the literal term. How sensitive are you? Because how tied to your emotional understanding is your mind. If you completely emotionally understand what you're doing out here, it's a totally different experience. Because then you're not cold or whatever. You can be neutral in cold water because all your senses are cool with it. They all know what's happening. No one's being abrupted because they've all been told,
Well, it's,
which
and
which means
coming
you have
back
to
to
have a
that,
conscious.
the guy that did the training with the CIA talked about finding that zero point, um,
Yes.
being in between logic and emotion, and just being an observer is really what he's talking about.
Right.
And that's the whole heart of remote viewing, right? You're becoming an observer. And from the people that I've listened to that are quite successful at that remote viewing, um from a spiritual aspect, I don't know about government people, but they will tell you that a key ingredient to being successful is to not react. So as you experience something, if you go, oh my gosh, or something, you know, in the midst of it, you're immediately sucked back into your body because you've gotten out of the moment. Really, you're not being present anymore. You're responding, you're reacting to something that's going on other than that.
One weekend, I guess it was a weekend course, and I just stumbled across it. It was free on YouTube, a remote viewing course, and I just did it, and then they've got these channels that you can. I think one of it's called Sight Monkey or something, and it'll give you a number, and you write the number down, and then there's a picture, and you draw what you think it is, And what I found is you got to go on your instinct before your imagination kicks in, because your imagination is not accurate. You got to get that first little glimpse, and I was amazed at my success at it. I drew something that looked like a bunch of lines, but when I saw the picture, I realized it was the Golden Gate Bridge, and I had everything, in place. And I drew. Your perspective may not be; it could be upside down. And I drew something that kind of looked like a burning cigarette. But when I went to the picture, it was the trade towers burning, and so
Oh,
when I wrote this book, I did redraw them, but the pictures of these kids have that are doing the remote viewing when they're training, those are really the ones that I did when I was training. I was amazed. Now I don't, every day I don't remote view. I just I'm not that curious about places, that are
yeah.
listed. But um, you know, I you and it's but I have one thing. What I did learn was go on that first thing. Your imagination is going to mislead you if you got to get that first little inkling of what it is, and you can use that in day-to-day life, really. It's a
You gotta
and
kind of quit thinking, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
a way, right?
yeah.
Get out of your mind so you can feel what's there.
Right. Well, we've talked before about consciousness not being in your brain, and
Right.
believe you me, do not believe that it's in your brain at all. Nor, and we talked a little bit about insects. A
Yeah.
roach knows where your kitchen is, and it is
Yeah.
not in his stupid little bitty neurons
Yeah.
in his brain. That
Right.
may be a receptor for cosmic roachism or whatever, but
Yeah. No
um,
energy robots, no,
and
no processors.
Rupert
I can
Sheldrake
tell a
is
story that will blow your mind that relates very much to roaches, and it was yeah. I'll let you finish your thought, and then I'll come back around to that.
well, Rupert Sheldrake, he's at Oxford or Eton, one of them over there, and he gets poo-pooed a lot, but he's done studies on this. The most famous being videoing dogs when the master decides to come home at
Mhm.
different times, and watching the dog's reaction,
Oh,
because immediately the dog knows,
yeah. I
and
watched some of those. They're fascinating.
yeah, and he's done a lot of other things like how birds know where to fly,
Hmm.
and stuff like
Butterflies that can migrate from Canada to Mexico,
yeah, right,
1,000 miles, and know
right. Now,
exactly what to
good
do.
and well that's not inside their brain. It's just
There's not room in there.
it,
There's not room inside there for that much knowledge.
yeah, that's
Information
right.
is requires a database, and we're
Yeah,
swimming inside of the database. We swim in the information that is creating us.
They have I've seen scientific studies, or I assume they were stuff that's shared on Facebook, so take it with a grain of salt, but um talking about that they now recognize that birds are capable of seeing the field of oneness. Like they
In the energy
fly
grid.
according to energy patterns rather than like what you and I see. So I'll relate back to the roaches, and also something you said in the Way of Mastery class when we were meeting, when we all met each other, and I forget who said it first, but that we're in a dream, and you said that we all agreed we're in a dream. And when I first started, and this has been, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that. I use that number for everything. I've lost track of time at this point. So I was struggling. I was getting ready to just put my house up for sale. And I was struggling financially, and discovered that I had roaches in my kitchen. And so the short version of a very long, dramatic story is, after trying a bunch of different stuff, including uninstalling my stove and putting it outside of my house so that because I thought that was, I'm eliminating the problem, right? I started noticing, I had become aware that my thoughts pertaining to this situation were contributing. And so I was like, okay, there's a lesson here. I just need to be grateful and be, oh, okay, look at the abundance. I was looking at it from that way, like, okay, thank you for the abundance of these roaches, and I'm done with that, right? And then I got more of them because I was like so thankful, right? Like, I'm supposed to be thankful. And then I started noticing that as I would have a particular thought, like, gosh, I wonder, like a curiosity mixed with anxiety kind of thought. I wonder if when I open this dishwasher, if I'm going to end up seeing one of these things. And sure enough, didn't matter, if I hadn't seen them all day or for a week, if I had a thought like that and then opened the dishwasher, there was a roach. It got weirder. Okay. So then I was like, oh my God, my thoughts are very much influencing this situation. And eventually, after trying lots of different stuff, I finally got rid of the roaches. And I was sure I got rid of them because I had a method that I used to test that. And 2 weeks went by and didn't see a single sign of them. Like, cool. So I'm sitting on my couch and I'm having a moment of gratitude. Like, what am I grateful for right now? Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful those things are gone. And I look over and there's a damn roach on my living room floor. They had not ever been in the living room. They had no reason to be in the living room. And I was like, holy shit. And then it really clicked, right? My thoughts are very much playing a part. And that was the end of it. I didn't see any more. It was a one-off. And then fast forward months, having a heck of a time with my thoughts. I was feeling very down, and I get on what I call these shame spirals sometimes, where I'll have a thought and then it spins and spins and spins, and it's like pretty soon, like, oh my God, I'm a horrible human being, And I was having one of those kind of moments, and I had a roach appear again, one off. And then later, at a different time, it happened again. And I was like, I'll be darned if I don't have roaches as my spirit animal. Like, it's letting me know that every time I focus on these negative thoughts, and really, like, and I'm not suggesting that people don't allow themselves to experience difficult emotions, because sometimes you got to walk through that stuff. But the point is not to camp out in it. And, so I was having a recognition that this was showing me that my thoughts were very much contributing to my reality.
Right. And
more have I recognized that, and realized, like, we're avatars walking around, and if we choose to experience something, we can, and especially if our energy matches, then that's the big part of it, right? Like, you can choose to be a millionaire, but if you think you're not worth $1 million, then millionaire you'll never be. But
Right.
if you think that, roaches are going to show up in your kitchen,
This also applies to your health too.
yes,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
very
And,
much so.
and this is going to sound so arrogant, but
Yeah.
sometimes I go
Hey,
to the doctor's office, I look around at people and I'm going, it just doesn't have to be this way, you know?
It's not arrogant, it's compassion. And that's the thing I'm right there with you, Bob, because I struggle with finding the middle ground. Like all of us get to pick, right? It's a dream. You wouldn't
Yeah.
pick somebody up and be, you're dreaming wrong, you're doing it wrong,
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, your heart goes out to that person because you're like, but if you knew it was a dream, you sure as hell wouldn't pick this.
Right.
And
right.
um at the same time, yeah, you got to respect that we each our souls came to do whatever our souls came to do, and there's no judgment there. We're not going to be in trouble for it. But it's
Right.
it's very encouraging to me to offer people information. And actually, David and I just finished a meeting, retreat planning meeting earlier this afternoon, um, where you can present people with an opportunity, and what they do with it is completely up to them. But recognize that your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and not just in the traditional sense, like I'm going to lose weight, so I'm going to go on a diet and eat less, whatever. But literally speaking, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions very much contribute to your everyday life, including, do I have to make a trip to the doctor or not? And a lot of, well, depending on who you listen to, and I don't like to get into the us and them kind of stuff because we're all one spirit in my mind. And I've seen lots of things point to that. Um, I don't like to get into the us and them of, well, they are against us and they're trying to make us sick and they're trying to keep disease going, and maybe that's true and maybe it's not, and I don't find it helpful to point
There is
fingers.
no they. There's
Exactly.
no
I find it helpful to
they.
point fingers. At the same time, those of us who have an understanding, like the people in this room, that we absolutely do have a choice, and we can say to our body, no, we're not going to think about that because that's not the result we want.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, have an opportunity to present that to somebody else in a compassionate way, not like, look, dumbass, quit doing that. But you can say, like, do you understand that you're making yourself sick? Do you understand that?
But most people probably don't.
Right.
Really, from the way of
Dog
mastery,
senses, man.
I have been gotten way better at policing my thoughts. I'll see somebody and my first thought is that guy's really ugly. My second thought will be that's God's perfect child too. And now I think Jesus saw God's perfect child without going through the step of that guy's really ugly. And I hadn't gotten there yet, but I'm working on it.
It depends how clear your lens is. It's that judgment lens kind of. We all have something inside we don't like about
Yeah, yeah.
ourselves. It's the self things we don't like that we're always like most irritated about somebody else. It's the reflection we don't like.
Yeah,
We
right,
smack the mirror because you're like, damn you, mirror. That's not what I see. All I want to see is this. And when I
yeah,
look here, I don't see that.
right, right. And I'm doing way better about policing my thoughts, even when I'll start thinking about calculating something or whatever, and go, why are you doing that? Don't waste your energy thinking about how many seconds it's going to take to go from here to the Cultural Arts Center.
Right.
And I do that. I will time it just to know. And I said, quit.
Devil's in the details, right? That's
Yeah,
what they say.
Well, but at
Whatever.
the same time, it's okay to be Bob, right? Like if Bob is a person who gets his boat floated by counting how many seconds it takes to drive somewhere, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. It's joy that gives us life. When we're in a happy state, we're in a healthy state. If our emotions definitely affect our health. If we're
Oh,
always
absolutely.
grumpy, we
I,
become
I
sick.
think even medical professionals will tell you that. I think that it's just obvious, and
Yeah, it's too clear these days. Too
yeah,
clear.
you can't deny it. I mean, and
Yeah, even
people
the
turn,
whole placebo effect, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
That's a good thing. That means you
yeah,
can
the
heal yourself,
placebo effect.
right?
They just go, well, that's the placebo effect. Like,
Right.
well,
Instead
okay,
of saying, well,
what
that's
is
just you
the
healing yourself, and we don't want that to happen. Let's give it a really big word so people don't do it.
they just accept it without ever examining it. It's like,
Uh-huh.
and why does that work? Why does
That's
it?
the trick of language, right? That's why we haven't been creating health for the benefit of man. It's been for the benefit of a dollar. Because
Yeah,
if we were trying to make health the benefit of us, each other, that would never happen. We would have dug into this placebo effect, not away from it.
right, right.
Because if you can heal from
Really,
that, then why take medicine?
really, why
We,
doesn't
we've got
anybody go, why does this work?
right.
They just go, it worked for, that's just the placebo effect. Well, what the
Because
heck?
someone made up a word so they can make money. Someone wanted to keep the
Yeah,
power, frankly.
I have heard that, and
A lot to say, but
this is to be taken with a very large grain of salt, but sometimes the placebo effect is like 45% of what they're doing. And they're like,
right,
aren't you curious why that happens?
right. But I think at one point they could be giving everybody a placebo, and people would have varied degrees of what they thought. As long as they thought it was medicine, it's doing the same thing medicine would do for them. So
Yeah.
if they think it's medicine, but they don't
I,
believe in medicine, then by taking it would make them sick.
I have,
Okay,
in
I'm going to
fact,
interject because there's a really cool study that I heard that's going to rock your
Let's
world.
hear.
Okay,
Let's hear.
so this woman who was giving a TED talk I think she called herself a health psychologist coach or something like that. Anyway,
yeah,
she spent a great deal of her time as in her career as a person who spent all of her energy telling people to reduce stress because stress is bad for you. We've all been told that, right? That everybody knows stress is bad for you. And
Yeah,
so she found
they're not
herself
at
in a
ease.
position of recognizing after looking at these scientific studies, which I'll share as much as I can remember, and I can find the reel at some point and share that too. But that they did this long term study that was like 20, 30 years long, where they looked at three groups of people. That a control group, they had a group of people who believed that stress was bad, and they had a group of people who did not believe that stress was bad, and they measured the like they looked at their life circumstances and looked at events in their life that most people would consider stressful, job change, death, whatever, um and um the group of people who believed that stress was bad had a much higher mortality rate uh, compared to even the control group. But even
Hmm.
compared to the control group, the people who didn't believe that stress was bad beat the socks off, and I don't remember the percentages right now, of all of the groups as far as their mortality rate. Like they because they didn't believe that it was bad for them, it wasn't.
yeah, right.
That's
So even
interesting.
something that we're all absolutely convinced, this is the
Right.
truth. This is the truth.
Well, one of
Wasn't
my
It's whether
necessarily
you're
so.
it's whether you're at ease or not about it. If it gives you
Yes.
some kind of discomfort, it becomes dis-ease
yeah,
because
right.
then your body rejects it and you fight it and your body gets sick. But
It's
if it's
about
at ease
coherence,
with
right?
whatever it is,
It's about
right?
being in
It's
that 0 point. Like there's
it's
no
being right in the center of
yeah.
all the 0 points.
Well,
And I
one of my
think,
good
yeah,
friends is an MD, and I know because I've asked him if he's ever given, sugar pills for somebody's illness that they insist they have. And I think most doctors at some point in their career have given somebody sugar pills because they keep
because
insisting
they
that
didn't
there's,
have a way to heal them. So
yeah,
you just give them something they believe in.
Well, and then the one
It's
that
about
ties back
talking it,
in
talk
with
them into it.
what David was saying. I got hair in my face here. um earlier about being able to remote view inward, like to go back
Right.
into yourself. Um,
Hmm.
so the same lady was talking about another study that was done where they gathered a group of seniors that were like in their 70s range, age range, and invited them to be part of a study where they were isolated in this, we'll call it like a retreat home. And they took, specific scientific measurements related to their health. And I don't remember what the data was that they chose, but one of them was like posture and ease of movement, things like that, and things that could be measured. They isolated them in this home, and they replicated the time frame of what it would have been like to live when they were in their 20s and 30s, the type of television shows, the type of furniture, the type of food, the magazines that were laying around, just everything that they would have had in their environment when they were young men. And by the end of the week, so it was like a week-long study, by the end of the week, there was a significant improvement in these different health measures, being more having more energy and being up, walking more with a greater posture, and just the different things that they measured all improved in all of these people, if I remember right. Don't quote me on that. And what they realized was it was a mind over matter thing, right? Like they put them back into a time frame of when they were young men, and so they started living in that time again. And they didn't obviously stop being wrinkled or whatever, but their mind was convinced, okay, I'm a young guy, and I'm going to start acting like a young guy. I'm going to start walking like a young guy. And it was a one-off study because it was cost prohibitive for them to repeat the study, because a lot of investment there. But they got significant results, and this was just by the only thing they changed was the environment.
Well, as far as relaxing, I'm going to go back to my binaural beats. If you listen to theta waves and, with your headphones, and I don't see how you can not relax. It'll put me out, just, and then back to the subliminal messages changing the way you think. I really think that is, we were joking earlier about Carrollton, where I live, being half counselors and half crazy people. And there's a lot of counselors here. And I just don't understand why they don't ever use this tool. If you could get people to sit there and listen to this stuff or fall asleep listening to it, I really think you can I'm sure you can affect their mental condition and even and their health and everything,
Yeah.
But
I
nobody,
think I know why, actually. I was just sitting there thinking, we're talking, this just hit me, and so I'll say it because I never thought before. But the whole binaural beats,
yeah,
you're balancing your sides. You're coming
right,
into balance
right,
with
right.
them.
It balances yeah,
It's basically, in my mind, what I see is when we go through something, we have all these switches, kind of, I hate it or I love it, but it's not just binary. So if you look at, I think it's what I would call focus squared, how you're focused. And so
mhm,
if, for instance, if you love love itself, if I'm a lover of love, then I'll love myself and I'll love everyone.
yeah,
But if I hate love, I'll hate myself, but love everyone. I'll give others love, but hate myself. And if I'm a hater of haters, then or even if I love hate, if I enjoy being a dick, if I enjoy being mean, or I hate people who are mean, so I become mean because I hate haters.
right, right.
Either way, you're on that side of the ruler.
That's
So
right.
and I think as it spins, that's what, when you focus on something, it spins out into the ether. Like it becomes something very large, because it's literally your focus squared. If you pay attention to aligning your loves and hates, aligning your emotions with your ideas, you will move forward for sure. Because it'll
Well,
make sense.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, at least to me, if I'm talking crazy, I'm more than happy to
No,
tell
you're
them.
not talking
Tell me I'm
crazy.
nuttier and shit.
But I tell you this
Well, I
much,
could be. That's always a
and
possible
reading
thing.
some of your work, you have thought in depth more, or brought it into scientific terms way more than I have, or well, I haven't really attempted to, but you've done a good job with that. And
I appreciate that. That's
yeah,
really the whole
and
point of the foundation that we're part of, Kim and I are part of, is to bring those two. That's how Kim and I met initially, because she had a Facebook group called The Logic of Spirituality. And then
yeah,
my foundation, I saw hers and like, well, that's right up my alley. So I liked it. And she's like, who the hell is this guy? And I realized, okay, we're on the same page.
I really thought he was
Yeah.
like one of those robots, because I didn't have any connections with him whatsoever, and that's a perfect example of where our head can go. Like instead of me being like, of course
Focusing on it.
people want to follow my group, I was like, what the hell's the matter with this guy? Why is he bothering my group? And then after I started doing some digging on his end, I was like, oh, I would really like to talk to this person.
yeah,
But yeah, the exactly what David was saying, like bringing together the opportunity for people to see the science behind the spirituality, because
yeah,
Mhm.
right.
when you make them juxtaposed to each other, then people feel like they have to pick. And
Right.
Yeah,
most
But
right,
in
Kimmy,
our
it's the same
Western world,
right,
thing.
we're going
right.
to pick science because
Yeah.
it's what's familiar, even if it's, I don't want to call it comfortable, because, walking into a doctor's office with a bunch of people that think they're about to die is not comfortable. Uh,
No,
but it's familiar. It's that kind of comfortable, like tennis shoes that you
Right.
don't want to throw out, even though there's holes in them. So it's when we can bring those two together so people can go, okay, so basically what you're saying is, and they can see the
They're like,
science.
I'm in
It,
control.
it becomes like
They realize they
universal
can flip their
language.
own switch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And making that experiential, which is what we are working to do with these podcasts, with the retreats that we're planning, and research in all these different areas. We are bringing more of that into, like what David just said, we're focusing our energy on that so that um
you can shine that
more
very big
people
light
can
into
see
the
that,
dark.
we're becoming the lighthouse, so to speak. Like, oh, all right, there's
Yeah.
all of this energy focused on bringing together the science and the spirit. Let's see
Yeah.
what that's about.
That's literally creating light because you're bringing together two things that normally were apart. So the
yeah,
coming together is a processor which pushes out energy. It processes two feelings and creates an exponential growth of energy the other direction
well,
because it has to.
you asked me earlier if I had like an aha moment. Well, I really had forgotten about this, but I guess when I became more active and interested in this type of thing, I read a book by a guy named Amit Goswami. He's a physicist, and do you know him?
No, I
Uh, uh,
don't.
he he put together. Well, he's Indian. Well, he's an American, but he's of Indian origin, and
Mhm.
You said he's a scientist?
yeah, he's a physicist, and he was talking about quantum physics and spiritual aspects, and that's when you said they're opposed. You either believe in Darwin or you believe in Adam and Eve,
Right.
but they're not
Not true.
opposed.
Not opposed.
And he was just showing how what you're talking about, how the spirituality is really scientific. It's just we don't understand it yet. You know,
Well, it's scientific if we let the zero in.
it's
It's
scientific.
like when we let the zero back in, when we realize that there's circular movement, not just linear movement.
Oh, I see what.
Like the triangle of the Trinity sits inside of the circle of love.
Yeah,
But the circle of love has been kept in the triangle because it's been controlling love. Protecting love became controlling love. The circle was inside the triangle.
yeah.
There's no need for protection anymore. The circle came outside the triangle. So it can encirculate love. The triangle, to me, the triangle is the linear movement in our evolution. Not masculine, not feminine. It's thought, and the circle is feeling. The circle is what lets us move because it is the power and passion behind things. It's the fear or the passion. It's what either drives you or pulls you. And that moves toward these bright ideas we have. Literally a magnetic wheel, a magnetic emotion with an electric current in your brain. You have electrical thoughts and magnetic emotion. That is why we are electromagnetic. That is what gives us power, is because we think and we feel. So we think and we feel, we become.
Right.
That's all there is to it. When you
The
think and feel
irony,
and voice, the voice is the movement that makes this the circles, the lines fit inside the circles, and then spin like a merkaba on top of a flower of life, spinning into it. It's the projection of creation. So we live inside of creation, not outside of it. We are it. So we live within
Yeah.
it and we do it.
Yeah. We are
Both
it.
with our thoughts and our
Yeah.
bodies. We work
Right.
hard. We do all kinds of shit. We
what
literally are creating world.
what I find ironic, what you were saying about the triangle has been controlling the circle, is like out of fear. Like if we don't control it, then people will just do whatever crazy shit.
People will take it.
As we accept that there is no, like, it's unconditional love, and people like to put a lot of buts after that. If when you accept that unconditional love means you really can do whatever you want, then all of a sudden you're like, well, then what I want is to be kind. What I want is to be abundant. What I want to be is generous. And like, you're not controlling it anymore by taking the rules off. There's no more conditions on the unconditional love.
Right. Because it's not a circle, it's a sphere.
The people start acting in ways that are more loving, like, well, that's more loving, because it's all love, but people start acting from a place of joy and doing the things that make themselves and the world a better place without the rules.
Right. When we fully love ourselves, we don't need rules.
When I had a conversation with a relative about this recently, she said, well, what will keep, if there's no rules, what will keep people from doing whatever crazy shit? And I said, well, first of all, people are already doing that. And second of all, I said, describe to me, to this person, describe to me what heaven looks like. Well, they used words like peace and unconditional happiness and no judgment. And I was like, okay, so when you are given your perfect scenario, it doesn't look like haywire craziness. It looks like peace and happiness and no judgment.
Right.
Yeah. It's not what you're doing, so it can't be where you are. If you're doing everything that you see, that you experience, all you want is unconditional love, and you become it, then you live in it. Because that's all you'll see is all you are. If you have no armor, no holes in your armor, and you're completely loved, there's nobody you don't love. Then you won't see things you don't love. Because even if they don't love you, who cares? You love them.
Yeah.
So and you're only ever, from a biological standpoint, you're only ever giving to yourself. And also from a subconscious standpoint, your subconscious only knows yourself. So even if I look, like you used the example earlier, man, that guy's ugly. The person that's hearing and feeling that is you. That other guy, I mean, yes, our thoughts are all mingling because we're all part of that, but mostly who it's affecting is you. And then he's feeling it energetically if you allow yourself to linger there, like he might catch you feeling judgmental, whatever.
Well,
but you're giving yourself that judgment. You're like telling yourself, I'm an ugly guy.
It spreads. If someone says that to yourself and the thought's out here, someone else picks it up and they think it's their thought. They don't realize you thought it. Now they're just reading the ether. Now they're like, oh, there's this thought. And the thought says, oh man, I'm ugly. Because it's an inward thought from somebody else. That's how we resonate. If someone's casting something, truly casting something, that'd be a different thought. If you're giving away information, you're giving love, it's out here. So you push or you pull.
I hope that the thought, the casting out the thought, I hope is sufficient, because I have not got to the point where I can just immediately see God's perfect creature on meeting somebody.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Most of us
second.
haven't, Bob.
Yeah, I
But
haven't
yes,
walked through walls yet
you
either.
absolutely, to me, that's what Jesus was saying when he said
I,
forgiveness. It wasn't about you did a wrong thing. It was that's the
Give
past.
yourself.
It doesn't exist anymore. Let it go.
yeah,
Don't dwell on it. So then it doesn't exist anymore because all we have is the now, right? There's no past and future because all there is right
no,
now.
that's right. All there is now, and
So
that's
Yeah,
it's only brought back into our reality if we tell it to be like, oh, I'm going to keep thinking about that time when I said the thing that I wish I hadn't said or thought the thing I hadn't thought,
right.
you know.
And then we become that thing.
well, I've gotten way better about that, and about just going, well, that's it just part of life. You did it, and move
Yeah,
on.
get over it. Right, exactly.
One of the
That's
best
what
things,
Now,
that's what made me who I am.
when I was young, I would take, if I screwed up, I'd take it straight to the heart,
oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
One
Yeah,
of the best examples I've heard for that, and I'm still learning this myself, is I read a book by Elizabeth Gilbert. It was Eat, Pray, Love. And in the part where she's having her spiritual journey, if you will, I mean it's all spiritual, but she went over to, I want to say it was Nepal and then also India. She went a few places. Anyway, so she's at this ashram and they're teaching her how to meditate and she's having a heck of a time with it. And eventually uh she gets a vision of uh some guru, I don't know the person's name, some yogi, whatever, some well established spiritual leader, and comes to her in a vision, and she sees herself standing on a beach in front of the ocean, and he says to her, I want you to build a wall to keep the ocean away. And so, in her desperate attempt to accomplish this, she's doing everything she can to, build up the sand and blah, 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 and of course, we all know how that turned out. And he said, this is the same as trying to stop, he's laughing at her like, this is ridiculous. Like, you think you can stop the ocean? That's funny. And he says, that's the same as trying to stop your thoughts. They're going to keep coming. It's not about stopping them. It's about not resisting them. It's about
I,
letting it flow through instead of being like, I'm
yeah,
going to
flow
judge that.
through. Don't internalize it. You
Yes.
have the
right.
thought, but if you go, that
If it
guy's
doesn't if it
ugly,
doesn't
and you
resonate,
just accept that, then you got to go. That guy's ugly. No, he's a perfect creation of God, and
it's picking your emotion. Which emotion are you going to use to relate to the thought?
yeah,
Thoughts attract emotions. And so if you pick the emotion you're relating to the thought with, the thought becomes that. The thought becomes loving. Someone can throw hate. You pick loving emotion to resonate with that particular spark of energy. And then that becomes, you give love to hate. Therefore, you change it. You modified it.
yeah.
Well, you
But
you recognize it's
if you
all
choose
part
hate,
of the story that we're living in, the dream. Yes, there's going to be times where you say or think judgmental things and then you let it go. Like,
Yeah.
right,
excuse me.
both emotionally understand that too, emotionally and mentally,
Yes,
both sides of the coin.
it's not attaching to it like what one of you said. And
Right.
one of the things I do for that when I'm able, when I'm paying attention, I'm always able when I'm paying attention, is to, I'll either make a joke out of it, like, oh, that was funny, oh, that guy's ugly. Oh, haha, that's funny, Kim, you're funny. Or that's interesting. I have a thought that I start to judge, like, oh, that's interesting. The car breaks down. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I'm not
part of the
always
way of
good at
mastery,
it.
somewhere that says when your car breaks down, you have to just accept that
Right.
as though if something good happens, just accept it, and
Yep.
really when you can,
Especially with that Christian mind oftentimes we have, people think if you look at the outside world and say there's something intelligent outside of myself, and all things are possible, then you must ask the question, why is this experience happening?
Right,
And if
right.
something comes to you that you think I wouldn't have chosen that, then either you go, who the fuck are you to make me do this?
Yeah.
Or you blame it on somebody. Like
Oh,
somebody caused it because I didn't do it because I wouldn't have chosen it. So you think it's either a spiritual demon or some energy or whatever it is.
yeah,
Right? I think that's the real trifecta of fuckery that we go through. Like what's really happening in our mind is these little switches that aren't necessarily switches, but if we live in polarity, we only flip one way or the other until we realize that they're adjustable switches and we can change our resonance to be in tune with somebody else. We can sing the same song if we're singing a song that we believe. If we're singing from truly connected, we'll sing in a choir instead of sing in disarray, disaccord,
Yeah, and to
because
come
we
back
end
to
up with some energy.
to tie in with that, and also to come back, tie in a comment that Bob, you said earlier about, walking into a doctor's office and being like, oh man, do you guys understand what you're doing to yourself? There's uh an MD and an awakened being that both David and I really appreciate. His name's Dr. Zach Bush. And triple board certified doctor, was doing all the things, very type A kind of guy. And it went down the rabbit hole trying to figure out how to solve cancer and one thing after another, and then eventually landed on oneness. Like after all of these things, like what you have made mention of, as far as like, I was told all these things, but they didn't really add up for me. And
yeah,
so
right.
he was doing that kind of investigating, reflecting, and everything. Well, then I listened to him one time, and he said he was sharing a quote, and he said empathy is uh hearing the song and tuning yourself to it. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember his exact wording. Um,
Hmm.
Compassion is hearing the song but not joining the chorus. So, in other words, not allowing the other person's frequency, if you will, to be the tuning fork. Like, I
Yeah,
hear
right,
that
right.
you feel like your life is shit or whatever, but I know that you have choices. I know that there are other options. You get to
Don't let
pick
them
whether
turn
you
your
want to
knob.
do them or not, but I know that and that's true compassion, right? Like Jesus didn't go around feeling sorry for people. He did, oh,
Right.
you poor thing. Here, let me get you a cup of soup. Like, he's like, yeah, I see you. And
I feel
just
like it's giving enough love that,
get up and walk. Like,
yeah, I feel like it's giving enough love that you expand, you change their dial because our frequencies affect each other,
mhm.
and
Oh,
just like a metronome will come into a unison with the same energy. The strongest energy wins,
yeah,
and if more people will give love than are angry, then love wins.
right.
It's Star Wars at the end of the day, there's two sides. You give into one, figure out which, if there is two sides, or realize there aren't two sides, and just become neutral, become understanding of people that you don't necessarily agree with. We don't all have to agree with the same damn thing. You
Well,
probably shouldn't, because it'd be real boring.
yeah.
Life isn't change. Life is differences.
That comment you made earlier, David, where you were discussing about how our body is like this electromagnetic machine, um,
Yeah.
relates to what you were just saying as far as our frequencies affect one another. And as you are more and more in that state of neutral and being your authentic self, whatever your particular frequency is, like, you know, Kim Celeste is this, and that in every moment, which is, instead of identifying with a personality, like, what is it, who do I choose to be right this minute? That we increase the magnitude of that electromagnetism when we are fully loving our authentic self, and
Hmm.
which is what I see as Jesus did. Because people, I was also raised Christian, and the mindset was very much like, he's perfect because he did everything right all the time. Okay, what does that even mean? The dude went around just like the rest of us. Sometimes he got mad, sometimes he cried, sometimes he whatever, he had all of the feelings. He did things that people wouldn't necessarily always agree with, But he also was very compassionate and able to have this huge electromagnetic field around him because there
Hmm.
was no resistance. He was not ever judging himself.
Right. I think that center point, frankly, it truly is the 0 point. When people talk about 0 point energy, 0 point energy is complete balanced energy. If everything is in the center, you're
Right.
fully aware and you're fully at ease. You're completely alert, but you're completely calm. No matter what happens, it's like being in the superposition in quantum physics. That state where you can do anything at the same time, you're ready for anything and capable of everything. Because you're sitting directly in the center and you're fully in charge of every one of your switches. I mean, that's some high level yoga, you know. But you hear people sometimes at such a level that they're changing their outer being with their inner beingness.
Yeah.
Because if you understand the way
Well,
your
that's
energy
what
flows,
manifestation
it's
is,
not just a
right?
bar.
Yeah, that's what
Right. But
manifestation is. Some people are just stellar at it.
right.
But even Bob, I think you mentioned that earlier, like listening to these binaural beats and affirmations that are saying like you're a charismatic person. Now all of a sudden you've got all these friends or whatever. You're manifesting.
Oh yeah.
You've
Uh,
Right.
tapped into a higher level of yourself.
I am
Or
more
you're
popular
attracting.
now than I've ever been in my life, and I'm really having more fun. You think like college age is when you have the fun, but I'm having a good time. You know, the
Yeah.
sun's gone down, and I'm in a shadow now.
No
Oh,
worries.
yeah,
Well,
mine does that too.
we've had an awesome conversation. I am so glad we got with this conversation. It's been awesome to have you on here, Bob. This has been great. I
Yeah.
hope you
I,
enjoyed the conversation.
I've enjoyed it too. I
Awesome.
really have. And tomorrow's a Way of Mastery Zoom meeting, and I assume I will see you there, and
Yeah, I think
we'll
I'll be there
continue
as well.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
I
We'll go deeper.
let's see, I'm trying to remember my schedule. Yes, I should be able to come tomorrow. So yes.
Okay, me too.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, with that said, we'll go
All right, I'm gonna
kill the
stop the
recording, but
recording there.
this is
Whoops.
awesome.
Do
We'll
any